Hello everybody and welcome back to the stream. It's Saturday and you know what that means. It's time for the weekend kickoff, our awesome strength and stamina focused bodyweight class. You can tell it's Saturday because I've decided to get really cozy in a hoodie. Don't worry, I'm gonna take it. I can't exercise in this hoodie, but man is it a comfy hoodie, and man am I excited for colder weather so I can just wear hoodies and jackets and pants all the time. I love fall. I love spring too. I love seasons that still allow me to wear jackets when I want to. That's really what it comes down to. I love wearing jackets. Hi everyone. Hi. It's Saturday morning. It is our last live class for a week. So as soon as we're done with today's class will still happen as normal next week, but it will be rebroadcasts of previous VODs. I knew it was a good idea to start uploading those VODs. And yeah, so class will still be available. If you're like, oh man, I really wanted to get a workout in, well, have no fear. Stream will still be present. I just won't be physically in front of it, except to, get the rebroadcast going. But, hi everyone. I hope that you had a pretty good week. We've talked a lot about this week and about all of the stress that we are all going through, and I feel like it's ramping up because we know we are ramping up to a big decision point, I guess, for lack of a better term. Those of us in the United States, at least. It's a beautiful thing about the internet. Not all of you have to live in the United States. But for those of us who are here, we're kind of freaking out about a lot of things, obviously. But the upcoming election is definitely a big one, and I don't have anything particularly comforting to say, and I don't think that's what's needed right now. I think that definitely trying to over comfort and be like, oh, it'll be okay when the West Coast is burning and disease is ravaging the land, and reporters are not doing their duty and just sort of being like, oh, he says he's not going to relinquish power, and pretending that should have ever been a choice or a question he should be asked. There's a lot going on, and if you are feeling really freaked out right now, if you're feeling really scared right now, that is totally legit. Totally legit. I know that I'm freaked out. I know that I'm scared. For myself in some ways, and for so many of my friends. And yeah, there's no brilliant piece of comfort I can give except to say that as long as we can still gather together and do a good class, keep ourselves healthy, as long as we can still do this, I can still retain some hope. I love gathering with all of you, and I think that it is more important than ever, especially since we can't physically leave our homes as much as we usually do. It's more important than ever to find the ways that we can create community. And this has been a big one for me, and I love it, and I really appreciate having y'all with me on this journey. And so let's not pretend that we're not scared and freaked out, but let's also be proud of ourselves that we're here on a Saturday morning and we're gonna do an awesome workout And we're gonna take that energy and bring it with us through whatever else we choose to do this weekend and over the coming week. So I think that's a good place to start. My friends. Oh man, I'm excited for my rest week though. I'm not gonna lie. And I can tell how needed it is because of how excited I am. My body and my brain are both clearly going, yes, you idiot, you've needed this for a while. Why haven't you been paying attention? So if you wonder why I talk about that so much and like poke at you to do it, it's because it's important. And, even those of us who have spent a lot of time learning how to read the signals from our brains and our bodies still don't always pay attention to them in the way that we should. I should have done this a while ago, and I didn't. It's a good reminder for me to be like, no, you have to be just as deliberate in your rest as you are asking others to be. It is still important for you, the teacher, to do this. So it's going to be good. It's going to be good. But we're not there yet. Right now, we are here to do some class. I'm excited for class. Let's get ready for class. So, checklist, and we've got our water vessel, whatever it may be. I'm going to have something completely different when I come back. When I come back after rest week. We got our comfy clothes on, whatever they may be. We've got our mat set up or our mat-sized space on the floor. And if you're using fitness wearable for class today, then let's get that going for high-intensity interval training, which still works for today, even though it's not as cardio a class. Oh, there we go. Man, this time next week, well, I suppose I'll still be up because I'll have to get the rebroadcast going, but I will still be wearing my my comfy hoodie, most assuredly, and I'll still be in my PJs, and that will be its own delightful form of rest. All right, get that speaker going. So yeah, let's do it. Let's warm up. Let's get going. Let's do the thing. All right, so everybody over to your mats. Just readjusting. There we go. Everything's fine. All right, on your mats, forearm warm up. On your backs, 1 foot crossed over the opposite knee. I'm gonna open up my timer app, and as soon as you hear that horn go off, we will begin with hip rocks and bridges. Hey! There we go. Oh, I haven't gone outside yet today, but just looking at the tree outside, just past my balcony, and the leaves are starting to turn, and it just feels so fall-like right now, and I am so pleased about that. It just, I looked out the window just then when we started the warm-up, and I immediately felt super cozy, I don't have a fireplace in this apartment, nor do I need one considering how warm it gets in the wintertime, but just feeling that feeling of fall coziness, I'm hoping that over the coming week I'm just going to go for a lot of walks and see what other little bits of fall are hanging about in my neighborhoods, because man, just going for walks any time of year, but again, I particularly love fall walks. I don't know why. There's honestly, there's something visceral about it. Because I don't necessarily have a specific answer as to why I love fall so much. I spent, 10 years of my growing up years in a place that didn't have a fall season. So I'm not quite sure, and like even as an adult, you know, I first few years I was out of college, I was living in the South, which, depending on how far down in the South you are, you're not necessarily getting the same degree of fall and winter weather as you are higher up in the north. So I really am not entirely sure where my love of this season came from, but man, I really do love it. I'm excited. I'm excited to just go for walks and look at all the trees beginning to turn and doing their thing. Lots of yellow leaves around here. That's the one thing about Colorado. In terms of fall foliage, it's like it can be beautiful, and when you go up to areas where the aspens are and you catch that like split second moment when they all turn yellow before the leaves just drop right off, it's beautiful. But the aspens don't last particularly long. Again, it really is a blink and you'll miss it kind of foliage, and there's not nearly the degree of diversity of colors in the changing leaves out here that I've seen, you know, in the Northeast. Or I think the most impressive fall foliage I ever saw was in the mountains of West Virginia. Actually, one of my dear friends, his family used to have like an inn in the mountains there, and I went out and stayed with him there for a week, and it was October, I think. Yeah, it was October, and it was just absolutely gorgeous, and just riotous colors, reds and oranges and yellows, and absolutely stunning. Colorado, most of the foliage tends to go towards yellow, and the other thing that happens here, unfortunately, because there's also obviously a tendency to have our first snow kind of early in the process, frequently you don't really get a full turn before the leaves just go dead and fall off. You know, especially like usually the first snow happens in October, so I'm still expecting, even though we got our weird September snow this year, I'm still expecting a pretty big snow in October, because that's usually what happens. And generally, you know, as soon as that happens, the leaves just fall off, because they're like, all right, well, that clearly means it's time, and we're a little behind schedule, so flunk, and then the foliage is gone, and you're like, well, dang, I was enjoying that, but goodbye, I guess. So yeah, it is the one part of the fall season out here that I get a little wistful for other places, for different falls, but it is still beautiful, even if it's not as spectacular. And there's just so many wonderful places to walk around here. I know I've talked about it before, but it's the one thing I really, really appreciate about living in the Boulder area, is just how well set up it is for open space and for walking and biking safely. You know, so there's just so many trails and like open land that have trails going through it, so you just have these beautiful vistas and lakes, and it's just absolutely remarkable. And I mean, there are paths that you can use to get basically from Denver all the way to Longmont. I mean, you'd have to switch bike paths a couple of times in there, but if you were looking to get on a bike, or even, you know, just use your feet and walk or bike from Denver all the way to Longmont or vice versa, there would be remarkably few points in that journey where you would need to be on the roadway with cars. And that's just amazing. That's amazing. I have never lived anywhere that was so well set up for non-car commuting, I guess, is the term I would use. Although I will say, you know, I've never been a huge car person. Like, I appreciate cars as tools to get me from one place to the other, but, you know, I've never generally had the, like, I'm going to get into a car and drive because I enjoy the experience of driving. But the other day, I did like a big circle around town and sort of out a little bit into the flatter parts of the state, and then coming back around to my house, and I realized how long it had been since I'd been in so many of those areas that I was driving through, because of course, you know, ever since quarantine started back in March, I really have not been going many places. I mean, there were several months there where I didn't go more than a 7-minute ride from my house. And so that was definitely kind of beautiful, and there was an element of rediscovering areas around town that I was just like, wow, it's been ages since I've seen this place, or since I've thought about this business, or since I've looked at the mountains from this angle instead of from, you know, the angles that I'm used to from the few places around here that I will travel to. And in that moment, I did actually understand driving for, you know, the enjoyment of, for adventure and the enjoyment of the experience, rather than driving as a way to get from A to B efficiently. And that was nice. And, you know, in a time like this, driving can be a really nice, sort of safer feeling way to get out of your house and have a little bit of an adventure. I will always prefer moving through walking and cycling. That will always be the thing that I prefer, or public transportation. But you know, it was nice to have that moment. It was nice to have a little adventure, and to go, wow, I hadn't really thought about how many of these areas I have not gone anywhere near in months, in half a year, basically, which is just crazy to think about. Like, how has it been half a year since this started? It simultaneously feels like it's been a billion years, and like quarantine just started yesterday. And when I think about all of the things that have changed in my life since that day in March, where it feels like just overnight, suddenly we were no longer able to hug people or be in the same physical indoor space with them. You know, it's strange and a little overwhelming to look at the things that have changed, the things that haven't changed, and the things that are completely unrecognizable to me from what they looked like at the beginning of quarantine. And wow, what a strange ride we're on, my friends. And there's a lot more ride to go. But this part of the ride right here, this is the part that I will always be grateful for. And that I will, you know, no matter what else, I am incredibly grateful that this time did get me off my ass to start this Twitch channel. Because this has been such a great thing to build and to focus on and to, you know, feel like I'm getting to grow a community and help people stay healthy during this time, maybe help people with their mental and physical health in this time. And yeah, I'm really, really happy to be here. Oh man, and there's a school bus across the street. Not sure why that's there, but I had a moment of being like, whoa, I'm not used to foliage over there being so intense. But no, it's a school bus that just happens to be the exact color of most fall foliage in this area. But here we are at the last section of our warm-up, getting our heart rate going a little bit, getting our breath coming a little faster, and just knowing that we've got another 45 minutes and it's going to be awesome. It's going to be hard, don't get me wrong, but it's going to be awesome. And then I will send you forth into the rest of your weekend, whatever you choose to do with that time, whatever feels like it makes sense to you, or whatever responsibilities you do have to deal with, because obviously not everybody gets their weekend on these traditional weekend days. And you know, if you do have your weekend right now, that is awesome, and I hope that you enjoy it. And if you don't, if you have work coming up, or any other responsibilities, then I am here with you, and this is still a great way to spend your Saturday morning, because regardless, you're getting a little bit of energy in, and you can take that with you to whatever else you're doing for the rest of the week. Oh, all right. Last but not least, our burpees. Make sure it's a wave push-up. Make sure your elbows are still right in by your sides, okay? So no flaring your elbows out as you do the push-up. You want them glued to your sides the whole time. And then that nice big victory clap up at the top, because you know what? We're here. We got up early on a Saturday morning to do a workout, and that is super awesome. All right, my friends, let's settle in, drink some water, and just chill. Just chill a little bit. Getting a little sweat going, that's always nice. It means the post-workout shower will be even more awesome. Oh yeah, water is very good. Usually I wake up in the morning and I make myself tea, But I got up this morning and was like, I'm not sure I've been hydrating myself as well as I want to be over the last week. So I started out with water, and I think that was the right choice. I'll make myself some tea after class, but right now, just filling this enormous freaking mason jar. 4 cups worth of water, I think. At least 3 cups worth of water. Oh, man. Yeah. Fall's great. Fall's great. I hope that you live in an area where you can get out for at least a little bit of a walk, you know? Because walks are a great way to move our bodies right now. You can do it comfortably in a mask, so you don't have to have that same debate with yourself that runners do about how best to mask or not mask, or only pull the mask up when other people are coming and all of that nonsense. And, you know, I've never been as much of a runner as some of my friends anyway, but also ain't nobody got time for that. And it's just a nice way to feel really grounded in where you are. Because even if you have a destination, there's only so quickly you can get there. And you are moving through space the whole time very deliberately. Whereas, like, if we're in a car or even if we're on a bike, you can sort of zoom through space and be a little bit protected from it in a lot of ways. When you're walking, it's just you moving through the air, moving through the trees, and I really love that. I've always loved walking. I've always found it very relaxing, and now I find it a really great way to listen to podcasts, because I struggle to listen to podcasts when I'm not also doing something else. Like, I can't just sit down and listen to a podcast, but I don't want to be doing something else that takes enough of my brain energy away that I'm not actually paying attention to the podcast. Walking is perfect. Walking is absolutely perfect. You just, you know, you're moving your body, but you don't have to focus on that, and you can focus your mental energy on listening to and absorbing whatever podcast you're listening to. All right, my friends, what are we going to do next? We're going to start with toe squats, because that feels great. So, pick a number between 150 and 300. And that is the number that you want to achieve in the next 12-ish minutes. So I'm not going to set a normal timer. I'm just going to have it going on my watch. You can take as many rests in there as you want to. Make sure that you're stretching during those rests. Make sure you're doing the same number of reps in between each rest, okay? So if you start out and you do 50 reps in a row, and then you're like, okay, it's rest time. All right, I hope you can keep doing 50 reps in a row, okay? So get ready on your mats, get set, and go. And remembering all of our form notes, we do this exercise a lot, so I don't feel the need to go into super depth, but just remembering we want to keep our back straight up and down. We are not actively lifting and lowering our heels. We're just letting them come off the ground as they need to, so that we can get down into this bottom position, and then letting them naturally come back down onto the ground as we stand up. We are not letting gravity sort of pull us down and bounce us around, because that's really bad for our knees. So make sure, even if you are going quickly, that you have control over the movement. Make sure you're engaging your core muscles so that they can control all of the weight of your torso, because you're coming down to balance on a very small amount of surface area. You're on the balls of your toes, not even the full foot, just the ball. And your foot and your ankle are doing the work of maintaining this balance position. And if your torso is uncontrolled, then it starts moving in a direction that's unexpected, Best case scenario, you fall over. Worst case scenario, you fall over and injure yourself. So if you start, before you even start moving, start by engaging that core, then that muscle group, your abs, will do the work of managing all of this weight. So when you get down into the bottom position, the ankles and the feet have a little bit of that pressure taken off of them, and they can just really focus on just balancing this whole entity rather than worrying about different pieces moving in different directions at different rates, okay? So all these things to think about, and the core engagement is the thing that goes first, and it's the thing I notice too. If I'm a little fatigued, or if I'm just not concentrating on what I'm doing, and I'll go to do a toe squat and I'll wobble around and I'll be like, oh, yep, that was it. I wasn't engaging my core, and so my torso was like, wee, we'll go this way. You know, so it really is an important component of the exercise, and you want to have that engaged before you ever start the squat. Before you start going down into that squat position, your core should already be engaged, okay? And, you know, if you want to, I know we're in the process of, you know, achieving a number goal, but on one of your rests, if you want to sort of get a sense of the difference, wow, my throat got really dry there for a second. Almost as if I spend the entire hour talking. Just try doing one where you're not really engaging that core. And see how different it feels, okay? And then turn around and do one where before you even move, you engage your core, okay? Because I guarantee you will notice it. And then when you're going along and you're in the groove, it will take you less time to notice when you maybe start to lose some of that control, some of that engagement over your core, okay? Because that will naturally happen. I mean, we're doing a bunch of toe squats all in a row, and, you know, depending on how many you're doing before each rest, you know, you're going to be dealing with some muscle fatigue, and your brain is going to focus energy on the areas that it considers important to this exercise, which generally focuses on the legs, which makes sense because obviously there's a lot of leg work in this, but it's a reason why your core engagement tends to be the first part to go. The faster you can notice that, the faster you can re-engage it, okay? And it's not about noticing it and then beating ourselves up because, oh man, I didn't hang on to that core engagement. No, has nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with that, my friends. It's just about, okay, I noticed it, and now I've fixed it, and now I'm going to continue on, all right? The more that we can notice when we start to lose form and re-engage it without trying to beat ourselves up, the more successful we will be. Beating yourself up, trying to shame yourself, is never the answer, okay? It's never the answer. You will never hear me doing it, okay? And if you do, call me out, please, because there's way too much in the fitness industry that focuses on this like really awful sort of boot camp approach to instruction and yelling at people and doing that like sergeant from a Vietnam War movie bullshit. And quite frankly, I don't even think that they should be doing that in army situations. I think that type of training attitude is based far more around training people to not ask questions and to not think for themselves, rather than training them to be healthy with their fitness. But out here in the civilian world, it is particularly egregious in my estimation. I want you to be exercising for the rest of your life. I want this to be something that you get enjoyment and satisfaction out of, either for the practice itself or for the immense health benefits, mental and physical, that can come from it. I don't want you to feel ashamed of yourself when you're in class. I don't want you to feel like you're a failure if you don't get something on the first try. That is never my goal, and I frankly don't think it should be anybody's goal if you are a teacher. And those of you who have taken class with me long enough know that it is one of my big grinds my gears points, is just how frustrating it feels to me to have people just sink into this no pain, no gain boot camp bullshit. So, hey, let's talk about something else though, because that was a lot. Let's talk about what you should do on your rests. Hopefully you're stretching. If you haven't been, or you weren't quite sure what to do for stretching, here are some ideas. First of all, those quads are doing lots of work right now, and they can definitely use some love. So grabbing one foot and pulling it into your butt as close as you can till you get that nice stretch along the top of the quad. This is a standing quad stretch. I recommend being next to something that you can put a hand on so that you're not also trying to focus effort on the balance portion, but you can just have a hand and really focus in on the stretch. If you don't have anything though, it's the beauty of this stretch is that you don't technically need it. I can just do this stretch like this. I'm just chilling, stretching this leg, chilling on this other leg. But in terms of really getting to focus the energy in on the stretch, having something you can put a hand on like a wall or a counter is just going to take a lot of that additional energy off and let you really focus in on stretching out the quad. For your calves, again, having a wall is great. I'm going to have an imaginary wall because I can't reach my wall from here, but you're just stretching one leg straight out behind you, and you want to get that heel all the way down to the ground. So that's where the wall can come in handy. So if you get here and you're able to get your heel really close to the ground but not all the way down, put a little pressure against the wall and see if you can push that heel down, okay? Like slowly and controlledly, and then you'll feel that stretch in the calf. And then just switch it out on the other side. You will notice differences in how far back you have to go to get that stretch, because again, human bodies are not actually symmetrical, even though they pretend to be. And so you'll have different degrees of flexibility on one side versus the other. So, don't ever go on to the other side and assume that you have to get into exactly the same position. If you can, and if that feels good for the stretch, cool. But if one side you have to go really far back to get the stretch, and the other side you can really just bring it here, that's totally fine, okay? And then for our feet, especially because our arches tend to cramp on this exercise, just rolling over the tops of your toes, you'll feel a nice stretch along the top of your foot, and it will travel up into that shin. And that's a good way to just balance out the constant coming up onto the ball of the foot that we're doing right now. Oh, one more minute. One more minute. So wherever you are in your count, If you are not quite there by the end of this minute, you can keep going. You're just gonna have slightly less rest time, okay? If you've already finished your count, if you've already done all 150 to 300, congratulations, you're getting a nice big rest. And you can also probably up that number next time, okay? But for those of us who are still going, don't lose track of the form. Just because we're almost done, don't take that as an opportunity to be like, oh, I gotta rush. Who cares about the form? I would rather you do perfect reps and fewer than a ton of bad ones. All right, my friends, I have turned on our rest timer. So if you're still going, that's fine. Don't worry about it, but just know that we're gonna be moving forward in a minute. But congrats. You know how much I love that exercise. And I know how intense it is, you know, especially if you're still new to it. So just enjoy that you made it through. Enjoy that you made it to whatever your target number was. And if you didn't make it to your target number, that's totally fine. Now you have a better understanding of what your capacity is right now, what your target number should be. And you can start from there next time we do this, and then start loading, start adding on more reps as you go forward, okay? So, you know, a lot of this loading and increasing reps work would be something, if we were working one-on-one, that would be part of the work that I would be doing for you. But here in class, it is something that I want to teach you how to think about for yourself. And, you know, maybe I talk to you about those principles and you still go, you know, I still really want someone else to help me out with this. And that's totally fine. That's, you know, the purpose of personal trainers. But for some of us, this will be great information and you can use it to be more efficient and more effective in your own practice. So, woo! Make sure you're drinking water. I left my water over there. I'm going to have to grab it in a second. But make sure you're drinking it. All right. We are now going to do a perpetual motion set, 1 minute work interval, okay? And 3 exercises, going through them 3 times each. So the huge in that respect. And what we're going to do, we're going to do 3 exercises. First one's going to be push-ups to a downward dog. So for our push-ups, you can do any variation. So obviously the classic is plank. Want those shoulders directly over the wrists, butt out of the air. Keep those elbows right next to your body and push back up. You can do that from the knees. If you do, start in that plank position and then just drop the knees from there, and you maintain a lot of that plank length, okay? And then do the push-up from there. You can do a wave push-up like we did in the warm-up, or you can do some combination thereof. So you can plank down, wave up, wave down, plank up, whatever. And then once you're back up, push back into a downward dog, then back, push up, and back, okay? Just make sure that whatever version you do is something you can maintain for an entire minute. Then we're gonna do slow leg lower. We haven't done this in a while. So legs straight up in the air, and you are gonna tilt your pelvis so that you have glued your lower back to the floor. So normally, if I'm just chilling here, you know, we have a curve to our spine, and so, you know, the entirety of the lower back may not always be against the floor. So engaging the core to tilt the pelvis to flatten the lower back on the floor, so that if I take my fingers, I cannot push them under my lower back. That's what we're going for. We need to maintain that core engagement the whole time, because then we start slowly lowering the legs, stopping every 15 degrees to hold for 2 seconds, and then continue lowering and hold, continue lowering and hold. And if you get all the way down here without the lower back coming off the floor, then you can start coming back up, okay? But the failure point is if your lower back comes off the floor. That's when I need you to stop, reset, and start again, okay? And then our third exercise is just gonna be a held bridge. So you've got 2 versions of this you can do. You can either lie flat on your back, feet on the floor, and just hold the pelvis up like this and just hold this position. Or if you were a gymnast or a dancer or, you know, just a kid who had fun when you were little, feet on the floor, hands flat on the floor next to your head, and you can get into this bridge position like this and hold this for the entire timer, okay? Either one. All right, so push-ups to a downward dog. Slow leg lower, there we are, and a held bridge. All right, so everybody head back to your mats, and as soon as you hear the timer go, we will be doing those push-ups, okay? Again, remember, you want to do a version that you can maintain for the entire time. So my challenge to you is to not, you know, start with one version and then have to drop into one that feels easier. Start with that easier version. See if you can maintain that for the whole time. And if you can, and it feels super easy the whole time, cool. Then next time you can test out a more intensive version. If you can maintain it for the whole time, but it still feels really hard, and you're still having to really focus in on your form the whole time, then you probably do not need to go into a more intensive version. You are probably at a version that you can stick with for a while. All right, so keeping your hands here by your sides and just testing every once in a while, can I get my fingers under there, is exactly what we want to do to make sure that the lower back isn't coming off the ground. Sometimes you'll just feel it. You'll just feel like, oh, no, there I went. There I went. Another way to do it is if you have a yoga strap or some sort of flat strip of fabric that you can place under your lower back, so that when you take the position, if you tug on that strip of fabric, you cannot move it from its position under your lower back. That can be another really great way to keep that position, because then you're not keeping your arms like really awkwardly winged out there. You can just sort of have a hand on one end of the fabric and just pull every once in a while and be like, okay, cool, it's still there, or ooh, that moved around a lot. I need to stop and reset and start again, okay? Man, it was so easy getting into this hip bridge. I barely even noticed the timer. Clearly it went because I changed exercises, but that was about the most simple transition from one exercise to the other that I think I've ever had. Woo! This is one of those exercises that when you test it out and when you demonstrate it, you're like, oh, this is super easy. By the end of that minute, I'm like, oh no, there's the muscle engagement, there's the muscle fatigue. It's there. I need some water. Oh, there we go. There we go. So I talked a few days ago about the book I'm reading, The Starless Sea, and anyone who's in that class knows that I wasn't entirely sure how I felt about it initially, and let me say, it has completely grabbed me. I have been barreling through it, and it's just absolutely beautiful lyrical prose, which is one of my favorite things, and just really stunning, and exactly what I would hope for and expect from Erin Morgenstern, because her first book, The Night Circus, was just one of my absolute favorites when I read it, and still is. So I'm quite pleased to be able to say that that this book is absolutely a worthy successor. It just took me a little bit of additional time to get into it, and that's fine. Some books do that, Some books do that, and if a book is doing that and you're like, nah, I don't feel like putting in the time to see if this gets better along the line, that is also totally understandable. There have been plenty of books that I've done that with, or that I just wasn't in the right headspace to read them at the time I was trying to read them. Sometimes that happens, and it makes sense. And life is too short, and there are too many books to force yourself through an unpleasant reading experience. It took me far too long to learn that for myself, honestly. Although I do still remember the first book that I ever stopped reading and just refused to keep going on, and it was Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And I think part of the problem was that in popular culture, the plot of that book has been, hyper romanticized and made out to be far more exciting and engaging than I found the actual book to be. And, I was reading it when I was much younger, but also I was reading a lot of really advanced stuff when I was younger, so I don't necessarily think that it was an issue of my age. It was just, I started reading the book and I was like, this is not, I feel like I will get more enjoyment out of this story by continuing to consume depictions in pop culture rather than continuing to try and read the book itself. And I'm okay with that. And that was the first book that I ever was like, nah, I'm not going to finish this. But there have been plenty of times when I have not made that call and have just put way too much time and energy into a book that I was not enjoying. So never feel obligated to finish a book just because you started it, okay? We should all remember that we're reading for enjoyment and pleasure and not for obligation. All right. Here's our last time through for the slow leg lower, which is a great exercise if you've been feeling like your core strength isn't where you want it to be. This exercise is fantastic, both for helping you to assess where your core strength is and for helping you to actually strengthen it, okay? This exercise does double duty, and it's also really wonderful because there isn't really a way for you to compensate with any other muscle groups apart from the one that you're trying to work, okay? So, you know, I talk a ton about how there are plenty of core exercises, ab exercises, where people compensate for not having a ton of strength in their abs by trying to pull themselves forward by their neck or their arms or their head. And then they're like, why is my neck always so stiff and sore after I do this exercise? These slow leg lowers, you really don't have that option. And that's one of the reasons why I really like the exercise a lot. I don't do it in class as much as I wish I could, just because it really needs that longer amount of time. Like, it needs at least 45 seconds for you to really dig into it, because it's supposed to be, as the name states, a slow leg lower, not a fast leg lift. But it is a great exercise. Oh, all right, my friends. Woo! Oh, look at me. I already put the water back there. I'm so wise. All right. So, now we're going to do Tabata. One of our longer ones, so 45-second work interval and 15-second rest interval. Yeah, but we'll have those little rests and an extra 5 seconds of rest, which feels so luxurious when you're doing it, when you realize how used to our 10-second rest structure you are, and then you're like, wait, the rest is still going. Did I miss the horn? No, there it is. So move through that confusion now. Recognize that you may feel that confusion when we start, but it's okay. It is okay. Everybody feels that sometimes. So, our 3 exercises for this one, we're going to do squat with a knee raise. So, taking our feet about somewhere between hip and shoulder width apart. Nice squat down. Make sure the knees are going straight over the feet, not caving in towards one another. If you cannot do that squat without your knees caving in, narrow your stance a little bit, okay? So squat down, then stand up onto one leg, lifting the other knee, then squat down and up onto the other. And we're just going back and forth and back and forth. Again, engage that core, because especially once balance happens and you've lifted this other leg, you want to make sure that you're moving everything sort of as one whole holistically, rather than, you know, my torso's going over here, this leg's going over here, and suddenly I fall into the ground. Then we're going to do our lunge to the hand or elbow. So taking that nice deep lunge, straight leg behind you, and then either bringing one hand down to the floor, or coming down to the hand and then all the way down to the elbow, or bypassing the hand and just coming straight down to the elbow. Then stand, and other side, and just going back and forth and back and forth. And then third, I don't know why my knee has started twinging, but man, my body isn't just giving me all of the signals that I need a rest week. Side to side planks. So from that front plank position, let the heels drop over, up onto one arm, lift the other arm up towards the ceiling, then back through the center to the other side, and going back and forth and back and forth. All right? So those are our 3. We've got squat with a knee lift, we've got lunge to the hand or elbow, and we've got side to side planks. So 3 times through, but the first sound does not mean go. Awesome. First sound, in fact, means stop, rest, breathe, get concerned that you might have missed the knocking sound. Nope, there it was. Get prepped, in position, and go. So making sure that you are ready to go as soon as you hear that. So you saw that right there. I was not focused on the activity and let go of my core engagement. And so when I went up to try and get into that balance, my torso started tipping and I started losing the balance, okay? So object lessons on why that core engagement is important, because we want to be controlling every component of this. Sure, I may come up here and then come back down, and that looks fine on paper, but if my legs sort of fell down because I was losing balance, it's still not exactly what we're trying to do, okay? So keep an eye on that core engagement. 9 times out of 10, it's important for whatever exercise we're doing. All right, now we're just doing these nice big lunges. So really sinking into it, stretching those hips out, giving us an opportunity to really sink into that stretch. And remember too, that if you're just doing this for the first time, don't feel like you have to come all the way down to that elbow. Just come down to the hand for the first few times. See how that feels, okay? And then maybe try hand down to the elbow. Maybe that feels good, or maybe you're like, you know, that is a little too intense. That's fine. Listen to your body. Listen to what it's telling you, okay? Whew. All right. Knock, knock, knock. So getting ready for those side-to-side planks. Hey, remember that this is not a fast-moving exercise. We want our shoulders to be really sturdy, really stable. All of those muscles are engaged, holding them, not letting the shoulder wiggle around a lot as you move, which is hard because the shoulder is a ball and socket joint. It's designed for flexibility, but it does still need that strength. It does still need that stability for a lot of things that we do. So make sure that you are really focusing in and helping it to be nice and stable, okay? Second time around, I wish I understood why on the longer Tabata timer, the knocking sound does not come through the speaker until it's almost over. It's really weird. And I apologize because I recognize that it's not as effective letting you know that the next work interval is going to start. But it's only with that one. I don't really notice the issue with the shorter Tabata timers. So someday I'll have the timer set up in our overlay, and then we won't have to worry at all. And that'll be really nice. But for now, again, we make do with what we have, and we still get an awesome workout out of it. Woo! Oh man, the 15 seconds though, so luxurious. Look at us just dirtling around. You could do so many things in that amount of time. Well, now you need to get back into position for those side to side. No, where are we? This is set 5. You're doing lunges. You're doing lunges right now. Lunges to the hand or elbow. Yeah, my knee just started twinging when we were doing the push-ups, so I'm definitely going to take it easy for the last few bits of class, and then I am definitely, oh man, just going to really sink into having a full-on rest week. Maybe even turning off all of my waking up alarms for next week, just letting myself get up when I want to. Crazy, I know. And I do like having a consistent time that I get up. That's not actually like a burden for me, but it's also really nice to have at least a few days where you don't put that pressure on yourself, because you know, whenever there's an alarm, there's pressure on you to actually get up out of bed. That is its purpose. And so it's much better on the days when you're like, I don't want to have that pressure, to just be like, all right, then I'm gonna turn the alarm off before it ever starts ringing. So who knows? Maybe I'll sleep until 8 this week. Oh God, I don't sleep in particularly late anymore, friends. It's really weird. I was never a morning person when I was younger. Anybody who knew me can attest to that. And morning person is still not necessarily how I would describe myself. I can get activated a lot sooner than I used to be able to when I was younger. But I also still really need that boot up time. Again, I need my own warm up time in the mornings where I have the opportunity to sort of move through space and get tea and maybe dawdle around on my laptop or read a book or write a little bit, listen to some music, and just not have to interact with the world at large. That is still something that I need, even though, you know, I can do that process at 6 in the morning instead of 10 in the morning, like in college. But yeah, it still surprises me to some extent that I am able to naturally wake up so much earlier than I used to be able to when I was younger. It's kind of nice. I kind of like it. But, you know, we all change over the years. That is just something that happens, and it's nice to be able to look back on where we were, look back on where we are, and use both of those points to make informed decisions about where we want to be going forward. Because, man, a lot of times we just sort of tumble through life, and there's nothing wrong with that. I've certainly spent much of my life tumbling, but, you know, there's value in both approaches. There's value in keeping that flexibility and that willingness to grab onto opportunities as they arrive, even if you didn't specifically plan for them. And there's also value in looking back at where you have been and going, how do I want that to inform where I go in the next few years, you know? And that doesn't even have to be specific activities. That can just be, what kind of person do I want to be, you know? What deeply held and cherished attitudes did I have all those years ago that I no longer have or want to have? Hi friends. Hi friends. Normally, I would finish this one with some turtle burpees, but you know, this has felt like a really awesome, just strength focused class where we're really just settling in and enjoying the movement of our muscles, and I think I'm liking that. I think it's time for a little bit of stretching. So let's get back on our mats and let's just do a little bit of stretching, all right? So we're gonna start out just taking a nice, stable standing position, straight backs, and just let your head drop chin to chest, but don't hunch anything else, okay? So I'm not letting my shoulders hunch. I'm here, in this nice upright position. And then I just let my head come down, okay? We're gonna let that just hang there for a sec. Because even if we're not compensating for in core exercises by using our heads or necks, we also are probably not moving them around a ton in our daily lives, especially if we are sitting at desks or standing all day. We're not necessarily moving our necks around as much as we should be. All right, so lift your head back up and now just look over one shoulder and then over the other. And we're just going to look back and forth like this. We're not, we're not going super intensely, just I'm looking over my left shoulder, I'm looking over my right shoulder. And now come back to the center and let your ear drop towards one of those shoulders. And take the same arm, bring it up to the side of the head, and you're not pulling on your head, you're just letting the weight of the arm add a little bit of additional stretch in. So you'll feel all the way down the scalene, you'll feel that nice stretch. Just hang there, deep breaths. Again, we're not pulling the head, we're just letting the weight of the arm and gravity help to increase the stretch a little bit. And release that arm, head back up to the center. Drop the other ear down towards the other shoulder. And again, so hand on the side of the head, just letting the weight of the arm add that stretch. You may feel that this side is either more or less intense. Totally normal, as we discussed earlier. Our bodies are not actually as symmetrical as they like to believe they are. And release that hand. Just stand here, feel your head sort of floating very tall and proud on top of your neck. And then we're going to drop our chin back down to our chest. And we're just going to roll slowly down, keeping our legs straight. So we're rolling one vertebra at a time until we're basically folded from the hips over our legs. But our legs are still straight, up and down, and standing. We're rolling on an 8 count. I'll count it out, so roll with me. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So hopefully your hands are on the floor, or at least as close as you can get them. Shake your head out a little bit, just to remind yourself to not clench your neck. Take some breaths here. Each time you exhale, try and let yourself fold a little bit more deeply from the hips. Sway your back from side to side a little bit here. Just getting a little bit of movement in. See if you can use that movement to get your torso a little closer to the tops of your thighs. And then come back to stop. Shake that head out a little bit again. Now, again on an 8 count, we're going to use 4 counts to squat all the way down and 4 counts to straighten those legs back up. So here we go. Down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
6, 7, 8. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now take your hands to each elbow. So now you have nothing to support the torso with, so gravity is really going to pull it down. You're going to feel the increased stretch in your hamstrings. Just let your back sort of gently float back and forth. Deep breaths the whole time. Don't hold your breath. Make sure that you are getting oxygen into your body, into those areas that are feeling super intense sensation. Drop those hands back down. Put them behind your ankles and just see if you can gently pull yourself a little bit closer to the tops of your thighs. And then hands just flat on the floor. And we are going to bend at the knees and then again roll one vertebra at a time till we're back at standing. All right? So come with me on this 8 count and don't move when you get up to the top. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Stay right there. Don't adjust your hair. Don't adjust your clothes. Don't shift. Take deep breaths. Feel the lightness. Feel your blood start to move more freely throughout your entire body. Feel a little bit taller. Feel a little more relaxed. You've done an awesome class. And now you can take that energy and that calm and go back out into the world to whatever awaits you there. All right. Now you can shift. Shake those legs out a little bit. And then return to your water bottle and pat yourself on the back for a class well done. Yeah! Well done, everybody. Well done. Awesome. That was a really, really solid class. Just nice to focus in on just strength and stamina. You know, not necessarily feeling like we needed to get our heart rates going crazy, but just moving our bodies and holding our bodies in space and just being impressed by them. And it's important to be impressed by what your body is capable of, because believe me, it's remarkable that we can move at all. Oh, well, thanks for coming to class. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. This was the last class this week, and as I've mentioned several times, next week is going to be a rest week for me, so there will still be streams, but they will be rebroadcasts of VODs from earlier weeks. So if you still want to come back to class, don't worry, it will still be here. It will still be awesome. You'll probably barely notice that it's not live, except that I'll be talking about things that took place weeks ago. But yeah, so the next week will still be the regular schedule. So all times Mountain Time, Tuesdays at 5:45 p.m. Perpetual Motion, the class where we never stop moving. Wednesdays at 4:30 p.m. Jump Around, our weekly cardio class. Friday at 6 p.m. Functional Home Fitness, where we do weight training using objects you can find around your house. And then next week, Saturday at 9 a.m. for the weekend kickoff. So all of that will still happen. And then I will be back to usual live broadcasts the first full week of October, whatever that date is. Time has no meaning. But yeah, you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All of those handles will be in my end cards. YouTube is where I store the VODs for this channel. So Blanche Case Fitness on YouTube, so you can go and retake old classes. There's also going to be a lot of supplemental material going up there. Warm-up routines, stretching routines, form videos, and all sorts of stuff. So it's going to be a really great resource. So head over there and subscribe if that's your jam. If you feel able to help support me making more of these streams, I do have a Coffee account and always appreciate donations. And if you want to help keep growing this community and coming back for class and seeing all of the additional content that I have planned over the next 6 months, then please do follow this channel. Come back for class. We're here 4 days a week, and if I have my way, we may even be here more than 4 days a week in some upcoming months. So it's just so much fun being here with all of you and working out. So thanks for being here. Go forth, enjoy the rest of your weekend, whatever it holds. And I will see you in person back on the stream in a week or so. But I will see you in pre-recorded form back here on Tuesday. Mwah. Have a great day.